Welcome to PalTV. I'm William Rome, and today we're discussing the working conditions of postgraduate teaching assistants. We've been approached by several postgraduates who wish to offer anonymous accounts about their experiences, and later on we have an interview with Ansh, a physics postgraduate, who approached us to speak in more detail about his experiences both as a postgraduate and as a UCU rep.
I absolutely love teaching undergrads, but I'm considering whether it's even worth the stress next year.
There have been issues, but these largely stem from miscommunication. These have been raised, and the department is in the process of creating a demonstrator rep in order to avoid similar issues in the future.
I have cried at least once a year because I found myself in a financial situation where I didn't know if I'd be able to afford to continue the PhD for the next year. But I often feel that my efforts are just not valued, and with academic jobs and postdocs in my field being extremely limited at the moment, my future post-PhD seems uncertain.
So I'm with Ansh, and we're discussing postgraduates' working conditions in their teaching capacity. So Ansh, could you please introduce yourself?
Yep, hi, I'm Ansh. I'm a PhD researcher in physics. I also teach in theoretical physics classes, and I'm the PGR rep for the UCU at Durham.
Fantastic. And what does your teaching role entail? So sort of seminars and office hours and any lab experiments and any exam marking?
Yes, so there's workshops that happen where the students do problem sheets and we go around helping them. So it's a lot of bit of one-to-one tutoring in a way. And we also have these Christmas tests that we mark in January. We have a very short time period,
Yes.
very quick turnaround to mark them,
okay, yes.
which is quite intense, but yeah, that's also part of the role.
So Ansh, over the past year, have you found that you have had enough paid time to be able to fulfil your role as you would want to?
I think on the whole, yeah. I think previously the UCU had to lobby for us to be paid for prep time,
yes.
Because before prep time was not paid for.
Right, okay.
So now we get 1 hour's prep time per workshop, which for me personally does work out, but I know a lot of people in my department, they're working on more intense courses. They might require longer than an hour prep time, but that's then unpaid.
In general, with your communications both as a UCU rep and in general, as a postgraduate researcher, how have you found your communications with your department? And do they tend to understand your concerns, or does it require quite a bit of pushing to get what you need?
I think the people in the department are doing their best. I think they're also facing an issue of understaffing.
Right.
I know the people that I have to go to for my concerns, I feel like they do care.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of work for them.
Yeah. So Ansh, do you feel that the issues that you have had with the department, do you think that's had an impact on your mental health within your teaching capacity?
Yeah, I think so. It's more like long-term anxiety in terms of not knowing what career path I want to go with, because I've heard all these stories of it's not just affecting postgraduate researchers, it's also affecting senior researchers. And we'll be working, if I do research after my PhD, I'll be working on 2 or 3 year contracts for about possibly 8-9 years, and that sort of insecure employment doesn't seem like the right thing for many of us to go into. So it's kind of made me a lot more uncertain of staying in this field.
And so you're a UCU rep, and you've been working very hard, I know, to look out for your fellow postgraduates and demonstrate the issues that they're having. So what brought you into doing that role?
Yeah, so earlier this year I had an issue where I had COVID for about 10 days, this standard isolation period. And I emailed my line manager asking about the sick pay, because I thought that's something I'd be entitled to. And it turns out I wasn't, because my status was of a casual worker.
Right.
So this is a sort of category that the university uses to not guarantee full employment rights to mainly postgraduate researchers.
Right, okay.
Because it means they don't owe us things like sick pay or, parental leave or other things like that.
And this is fairly common across the board?
Across postgraduate researchers,
postgraduates, yes.
So I thought that was a big issue. I got in touch with the UCU rep at the time. He managed to enter discussions with the university. There was a lot of back and forth, but after a month or so, the UCU managed to get us all contracts. Okay. So we were now, everyone in physics was now employed in that official capacity. And the contract laid out stuff like sick leave and pensions and all this sort of benefits that we weren't getting before.
So you mentioned sick pay and how you were able to resolve that. Have you come across, either for you or for others in the department, have you come across any other issues with pay?
Yeah, so one of the main problems, long-standing problems at Durham seems to be late pay.
Right, okay.
Just not getting paid on time.
Yeah.
Which is quite shocking given that the basic role of an employer is to pay their employees on time. And so this happened early this year, like we weren't enrolled onto the systems in time, which meant we were doing teaching in October, November, and that teaching was not paid for until at the end of December payroll. Another thing that happened was obviously the sick pay was very delayed.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And this summer, me and a lot of other postgraduate researchers were working for the summer schools that run at Durham. These are for school students who are planning to apply to Durham.
Okay.
And so we do this work at the end of July and the beginning of August. So we're meant to be paid at the end of August.
Right, okay.
However, we weren't paid on time. And this was another issue. A lot of people got in touch with me as the rep.
Yes, okay.
And together, we went to HR. We were saying, this is so important. We're already low paid as is. We've got bills to pay. Can you not expedite this payment? Why is it so delayed? Because they were originally telling us we have to wait until at the end of September. For work in July, that's not particularly fair. So we managed to get them to pay us quicker. But I know there are still some people who worked on the summer schools who are still waiting right now.
Right, okay. And have you found people who have had issues with, for instance, their personal living expenses, their accommodation for the coming year as a result of that late pay? Have people been affected by that?
Yeah, so the university had to roll out this short-term interest-free loan facility for people who were waiting pay or stipends from the university and who weren't being paid on time. Which I guess that's some sort of help to alleviate the issue for people who had outgoing bills.
So how have you found with exams, the time you're given to mark them, has it been sufficient for you?
I don't think so. There's quite a short turnaround. So these are the Christmas tests that I mark in physics. And there's a very short turnaround, which means usually within a week, we have to mark hundreds of these tests. And obviously we've got full-time PhDs alongside this. And, they say we can claim for a certain amount of hours. So there's so much pressure in terms of trying to reduce it into as quick a time frame as possible. Which I feel does affect the quality of the feedback, because I would like to give them more fleshed out feedback. It's just we don't get enough time.
Okay. So Andrew, we've talked a lot about the issues that you've confronted as a postgraduate teaching assistant. What would you do to fix these? What do you think the key point is?
The main thing would be enrolling everyone on contracts, part-time, fully fledged employment contracts. So we've got all the workers' rights. Such as sick pay, because not every department still has these contracts, and these should be fractional full-time contracts.
And thank you very much for talking to us at PalTV about this. It's very interesting to hear a perspective we often don't hear, so this has been very helpful. Thank you.
No worries, thanks for inviting me.